Hello everyone. In the last class we discussed about the continuity equation which we got by applying conservation of mass principle to the control volume in an open channel. Alright. So the next two governing equations are conservation of momentum and conservation of energy. So this we have seen in the last class. That is the continuity equation. Now in today's class we will discuss about the other two conservation principles and how to apply these principles to open channel flow and what equations we get. Okay, so first we'll see the conservation of energy principle and we will get the energy equation for open channel flow. Alright, so let's start and look at the energy equation in an open channel flow. So let us say flow is taking place in an open channel. This is the channel bed, the channel bottom. Alright, flow is taking place in this direction. Okay, consider any datum. Since we are dealing with the energy, we should fix a datum. So this is the datum from which we will measure the energy heads. Okay, so fine, let's consider 2 points on this channel bottom. Okay, or you can also consider is control volume. Okay, it is one and the same thing since we have only 2 control surfaces, inflow and outflow. Okay, so this is suppose the point number 1. Okay, now if you if you want to see the energy heads, what is the energy head? Energy per unit weight of the fluid. Okay, so if you plot the energy heads, what you will get? All right, so first head is the datum head. Datum head is nothing but the potential energy per unit weight of the fluid. So it is the height from the datum. So that is your Z1 suppose. Okay, so this Z1 becomes your datum head. Z1 becomes your datum head. Next is pressure head. In the pipe flows we have seen that because of the pressure what we get is a pressure head. Okay, pressure energy per unit weight of the fluid. Okay, now what was that pressure head? Pressure head was, let us say you have a, in the pipe flows we have seen, suppose you have a pipe. Okay, and along the center line if you have this point and you want to find out pressure head, what you do is you make a hole in this pipe, so water will rise on this surface. If you make a hole, water will enter because of the pressure. Hydrostatic pressure acts normal to the surface. Okay, 90 degrees to the surface. So 90 degrees to the surface of the pipe, hydrostatic pressure will act and water will rise in this tube. This head H is called as the pressure head. Okay, and because of this pressure head, what will be the pressure at this point? It will be P equal to rho G H, and H will be equal to P by rho G. So this is your pressure head. Okay, by the same logic, if you think about an open channel flow, at this point how much is the pressure? Pressure equal to rho into G into H, hydrostatic pressure. So what is the pressure head here? If you think, then let's say this is the depth of flow section, suppose Y1. Okay, this is the depth of flow section. Now depth of flow section means, the definition of depth of flow section is the flow depth normal to the flow direction. Okay, depth of flow which you get normal to the flow direction. This is the depth of flow section. Now we are measuring along the y-axis. Okay, if suppose this is the y-axis, we are measuring the heads along the y-axis. So what will be its component along the y-axis? So it will be this will be how much? Y1 cos theta, and theta is this angle. Okay, it will be same as that of the bed slope. Okay, this bed slope will be exactly equal to this angle, and therefore you will get Y1 cos theta. Okay, this is Y1 cos theta. This is along the axis through which we are measuring the energy heads. Alright, now this itself is the pressure head. Why? Because if you calculate the pressure here, what will be that pressure? Y1 into rho into G. Okay, so pressure head will be Y1. Okay, alright, because the hydrostatic pressure which is acting at this point is because of the depth, this much depth of water. Okay, that's why this is the pressure head. Now next is the kinetic head. Okay, kinetic head is what, or velocity head, what is that? It is the kinetic energy per unit weight of the fluid, and we have seen that how much it is. Let's say if the average velocity at section 1 is v1, so it will be v1 square by 2g. Okay, okay, so this will be your velocity head, v1 square by 2g. Now see, in the last classes we have discussed that when you are using a one dimensional approach, so we are using an average velocity. We are not considering the actual velocities, but we are representing the velocity of this section by one value, that is the average velocity. And when we do that, when we do that while calculating the energies and momentum, there is some error. So we have to apply the correction factor. So here we will apply alpha 1. Alpha 1 is the kinetic energy correction factor. Alright. So if you apply the correction factor, now this will give you the correct kinetic energy head. Alright. Now let's talk about another same way. What will be the energy heads at some other locations? Let's say this is location number 2. So we will have Z2. Suppose this is Y2 again. And we will get y2 cos theta. This will be okay, y2 cos theta. Then if you have this v2 here, v2 square by 2g, this will be the kinetic energy head but multiplied by alpha 2, corrected kinetic energy head. Okay, now see, according to Bernoulli's principle, according to conservation of energy, what does it say? That energy is conserved. So when flow is taking place, energy should remain constant. This was the Bernoulli's principle also. But it was derived for an ideal fluid. Ideal fluid does not have any viscosity, so there are no viscous stresses between two layers of fluid. So we don't have to overcome the viscous stresses. So energy loss due to friction does not take place. But when the fluid is a real fluid, it has some viscosity, the flow has to overcome the viscous stresses also. So that's why there is some viscous dissipation. It is called as the energy loss due to viscous dissipation. So we get so energy is lost while the flow is taking place, some energy is lost to overcome this frictional resistance. Okay, so that's why the total energy line, this total energy, this is the total energy, and if you plot the total energy along the flow, that line is called as the total energy line. But what does Bernoulli's, according to Bernoulli's principle, that line should be horizontal, isn't it? But when the liquid is, or when the fluid is a real fluid, you get a drop in the energy line also. Okay, so this is the energy gradient line, and therefore we get some drop in energy head. Okay, this drop is called as the head loss. Okay, this is the head loss. Okay, this drop is called as head loss, is mainly because of frictional resistance. Then there is some then losses are because of turbulence also. Okay, so these are the reasons for head loss. Now if we want to write the energy equation, what we can write? Energies between two sections, how we can write that? Okay, so energy equation E1 will be equal to E2 plus HL. Okay, because head loss we have to take into consideration if the fluid is a real fluid. So E1 we can write Z1 plus Y1 cos theta plus alpha 1 V1 square by 2G is equal to Z2 plus Y2 cos theta plus alpha 2 V2 square by 2G. Okay. V1 and V2 are the average velocities at section 1 and 2. Alright. Now since this bed slope is generally very small, this angle is very small, and when you know that for small angles the angle is equal to the sine theta and is equal to the tan theta also. The tan and sine of the angles are equal to the angle itself when angle is very small. Okay, you can check that from the curve of the sine and tan. Okay, so if you see the curve of sine, okay, so initially you see that the profile is linear. Okay, so sine theta will be equal to theta for small angles. Similarly, tan theta will be equal to theta for small angles. So for small angles, for small theta, y1 cos theta will be equal to nearly equal to y1 itself. So you can just write z1 plus y1 plus alpha 1 v1 square by 2g equal to z2 plus, oh I missed head loss here, head loss should be incorporated, y2 plus alpha 2 v2 square by 2g plus hl. Okay, this is your energy equation. You can use this equation to solve or to get some information about the flow. Okay, about the open channel flow. So if you have a open channel flow problem, then definitely you can apply this equation. Okay, suppose you don't have the values of alpha 1 and alpha 2, you can consider alpha the energy correction factor equal to 1. You can take that equal to 1 if you don't have the values. Again, if the head loss is very small, if the length of reach is very small, okay, the 2 points are very close to each other, then frictional loss is also very small. You can neglect this also. So in this way you can apply this energy equation to solve several problems, get some information about the flows. Alright, so this is your energy equation. Now after the energy equation, we'll see the momentum equation. Momentum equation. Whenever you come across an open channel flow problem, you always remember that you have three equations at your discretion. You can apply these three equations depending on the problem. Okay, sometimes it may happen that you apply the continuity equation and then you apply the energy equation. Okay, sometimes it may happen that energy is difficult, energy loss is not easy to calculate, so this equation initially becomes of no use, then you will go for momentum equation. So in this way you have to apply the depending on the problem you apply the equations. Okay, alright, so we will see how to apply the momentum equation. This is a generic form of momentum equation that we'll see. Okay, so again you consider an open channel flow. Okay, this is your theta, bed slope. Slope of the bed is called as the bed slope. Okay, so this is bed slope. Now you have some flow taking place like this. This is your depth, some discharge is flowing. Now consider some control volume. Take a control volume basically. Let's say this is your control volume. Okay. Now conservation of momentum. Conservation of momentum means application of Newton's second law of motion. Okay. And what does it say? What does it say? That the resultant force acting in a direction is equal to the rate of change of momentum in that direction. Alright, so if we take this as the flow direction, okay, this is your flow direction suppose. Now when we are considering a control volume approach, we are considering the forces acting on the control volume. Okay, so forces will be acting on a control volume in two ways. Okay, either the forces will be surface forces which will act on the surface of the control volume, or second type of forces will be the body forces which will be on account of the mass of the control volume. Alright, so on this control volume, what do you think, which forces must be acting? Okay, so first and foremost, the first force that you can think of is the very simple, that is the pressure force. Okay, so here you will get a P1 pressure force. Since hydrostatic pressure is there, so it will act on this surface. Okay, pressure force. So first is the pressure force. Second, now pressure force P1 will act in the direction of flow on this surface. Let's call this 1 1 and again 2 2 in the same way. Okay, so but here hydrostatic force will act opposite. Why? Because while analyzing the forces on the control volume, we separate this control volume from the flow. Okay, we separate it and then we look at the forces. Okay, so this fluid is exerting a hydrostatic pressure on this surface 2 2 normal, in the normal direction. All right, so P2 direction will be opposite to the flow, P1 will be in the direction of the flow. These are the pressure forces. Second forces are the body forces. Okay, so if you have, now there will be some mass of the fluid in this control volume, it will have some weight and that weight will be acting vertically downwards. Okay, this is W. Okay, and suppose this angle is, now again this angle is theta, so this angle will also be theta, and therefore you will get two components, W sin theta and W cos theta. Okay, the sine component of weight is acting in the flow direction, and this is acting in the direction of the flow, and second is acting normal to the direction of the flow. All right, now we are considering forces in the x direction. Okay, so in the flow direction, so W sin theta, gravity force is also there, and third, now see, if you take this channel bottom or even the sides, so let's say you have this cross section is like this, cross section, this is the cross section. Okay, this is the cross section, suppose. Okay, flow is taking place. Now this is your channel boundary. Okay, channel boundary is like this. Now the fluid is in contact with this channel boundary on this perimeter. Okay, this particular perimeter is called as the wetted perimeter. Now the fluid which is in contact with this boundary will exert some resistance. The boundary will exert resistance, shear resistance to the flow. Okay, therefore resistive force is also acting on this surface. Okay, that is because of the bed shear stress. Okay, so this, and it will act opposite to the direction of the flow. I'll call it as FF. Okay, so it is the resistance. Temporarily I'll call it as a resistance force. Okay, this is also a, which type of force, body force or surface force? It is a surface force, because the resistance to the fluid is acting on the surface of the control volume. Okay, so this is your control volume, suppose in 3-dimensional. Okay, so on this surface bottom, it is acting acted upon by the resistance force. Alright, so these are the forces acting on this control volume. Now if you apply the Newton's second law of motion in x direction, or flow direction, you can call in any ways. Alright, in the flow direction if you take, then summation of forces should be equal to rate of change of momentum in that direction. So m2 minus m1, okay, upon time. Momentum at section 2 minus momentum at section 1 divided by time. So it is what? M dot 2 minus M dot 1. Okay, the dot represents that it is the momentum per unit time. Okay, so minus momentum per unit time at section 2 minus momentum per unit time at section 1. This is your rate of change of momentum. This quantity should be equal to, this is a vector quantity, it should be equal to the summation of forces. Alright, so let's write the, let's find out this rate of change of momentum first. Okay, now momentum at this section 2, this will be what? Mass into velocity. Velocity at 2. Okay, so momentum at 2, but momentum per unit time, that is momentum flux. This is what? Flux. So momentum flux at 2 will be mass into velocity divided by time. Okay, so you can use, so what you will get? Mass per unit time, that is mass flux into velocity. Okay, and mass flux is means what? Mass flow rate, mass flow per unit time. This, how to calculate this mass flow rate? It is very simple. Volume flow rate into mass density will give you the mass flow rate. So rho 1 or rho, let us say rho 1 or rho 2, because we are finding out 2, but let's take rho. Okay, simply rho, mass density of the fluid. Let's say it is constant, so you can use rho and Q. Q is constant, Q is the discharge. So rho Q into V2. This is your momentum flux through surface 2. Okay, so Q you can also write as rho into A into V2. So V2 into V2, V2 square. Rho A, V2 square. Okay, but now when you are calculating momentum using average velocity, this momentum will be will not be the correct momentum, because we have considered only one value of velocity, that is the average value. So we have to correct this momentum, and for correction we have to apply the momentum correction factor in this case. So just apply this momentum correction factor beta 2. Okay, so now this value will be the correct value of momentum flux. Okay, similarly momentum flux at 1 will be momentum flux at 1 1 or through surface 1 1 will be beta 1 rho A1, I should write A2, A1 V1 square. Okay, so therefore summation of forces will be here. It will be what? Beta 2 rho A2 V2 square minus beta 1 rho A1 V1 square, and summation of forces, just write the summation of forces. This force is a vector quantity, so consider the direction also. So we have P1, I am considering this x plus, okay, positive x in this direction, so P1 minus P2. P1 will be positive in the flow direction, so it is positive. P1 minus P2, since P2 is opposite to the flow direction, then plus W sin theta, it is also in the flow direction, and then resistance force is in the opposite direction to the flow, so minus FF, frictional resistance, that's why I have subscripted as small f, and that is equal to beta 2 rho A2 V2 square minus beta 1 rho A1 V1 square. Okay, so this is your momentum equation. What it will give you? It will give you the relationship between the net force and the rate of change of momentum, or momentum flux, rate of change of momentum flux. Alright, at the control volume. Okay, so you can use this equation in some problems. Now this especially this momentum equation is useful for getting the understandings of the rapidly varied flows, because in the rapidly varied flows the energy loss is very high in a short length of time. So applying energy equation is not of much use, because it is difficult to calculate the energy loss. So when it is very difficult to calculate the energy loss, this equation is not very useful. So you go for the momentum equation first, okay, to simplify and get understandings of that flow. All right. So this is all about the conservation equations in the open channel flow in the very simplest of forms. Okay, in the simplest of forms, these are the equations which you can use. That is the continuity equation, energy equation, and momentum equation. All right. Thank you.